So here we have our mandala view with the sun in gate 3, which is ordering, and that is a sacral gate, and the earth in gate 50, which is values, and that's a splenic gate.
Gate 50 in the spleen was going to meet up with gate 3 really soon, and it's funny how this thing ends up being what almost feels like not just an opposition but a definition, because they're very powerful. One is a format gate, and the other is technically formats how we preserve the children and the values.
Yeah,
I look at gates 6 and 50 as if they're their own type of format. They just don't carry the same quality as a format gate that would obviously carry into the rest of the body graph the way a format gate does, but
yeah, so
similar things.
Yeah, so like gate 3, which is coming off the sacral, that's the format gate, right? So for our viewers, any gate, the 3 gates from the root to the sacral center, those are called format channels. And then what you're saying, Danny, is with gate 50, which is on the spleen, gate 6, which is like a mirror image of it on the solar plexus. It's almost like they're laying the foundation for the tribe. Is that what you're kind of saying?
Yes, because they are the awareness. They are the awareness that creates the emotional wave, and that creates the tribal survival awareness wave, a pulse, I should say. Without them, they don't. The other 6 gates in those 2 centers don't light up. They just don't light up. Without it, the other 6 gates in that center leave us as a bug or a bird or a lizard or a dog or a rock. Well, not quite a rock, only 25 in a rock, but close enough. Right? Or a cell, a single cell and a blade of grass. Yep.
So what you're touching on now is like the design of form. So like we have our human design graph, but there's also, you can look at like the design of animals, mammals, or, reptiles and birds, or single cell.
Tell them about the rock, Moni. It's just so wonderful, and it makes sense in a Taoist Zen kind of way. Tell everyone about the rock because we're here. Why not?
Since we're here. So I think what you're referring to is that gate 25, any inanimate object has gate 25.
At least it has gate 25. It's the universality of innocence and its love of all things. So the rock is innocent. It's not the rock's fault.
And gate 25 has a relationship to inanimate objects.
Mm-hmm.
I'll start setting that up. I'll start working on a presentation for the design of forms, and we can look into what it's like to see a design of other mammals or reptiles or the single cell or plants. So we'll get into that.
We'll get into it at some point in time. But for now, we're at the law, and part of the law has everything to do with the design of forms. Gate 50 and gate 3 brings that which is new and has not yet been. And so as we move through this, it's really fun how this moves through the wheel and its different expressions of its cross from right angle to left.
So here we have gate 3, which is difficulty at the beginning, and it's also called the gate of ordering. And gate 3 is the acceptance of limitation as the first step to transcendence. Gate 3 is a sacral gate, and it's part of individual circuitry. So the keynote is empowerment, and it's part of the knowing circuit specifically. Gate 3 links up with gate 60, which is limitation, and the 360 make up the channel of mutation. Gate 3 is about transcending confusion and establishing order so something new and potentially viable can take hold in the world. It has a connection to unique individual knowing, personal innovation, and potential for making a significant contribution. Patience and waiting for correct timing is imperative as the on-off creative pulse prevails.
It not only prevails, it dictates and it rules. This rules the whole, that it will or won't come into the world. And that's why it's got this deep impatience for what is it? Why is it I'm waiting to transcend all of this confusing energy that doesn't seem to move yet? I want something new, and it's deeply mutative. Just keep sort of ringing the bell. Is it there? Is it there? I can't tell if it's there. And it's an incredible stuckness where, along with gate 60, if it has it, which it will, when we read the crosses, feels stuck. Gate 60 just says I'm stuck, and gate 3 says I'm so stuck I don't even want to be here. At least gate 60 is like I'm stuck, but there's a pressure to move. There's a pressure to move and transcend this limitation. I'm waiting for that. And this is like I've already transcended a limitation or not. Either way, I want the new thing now into the world. It's almost like they can taste it, but they can't name it. Tip of the tongue type of a phenomena.
That's really interesting. Yeah, I feel to provide a little bit of context with gate 60. So gate 60 is a root center gate, and gate 60 is about limitation, and it's about accepting limitation, because you have to know where you're at. Like, you could want something new, but if you don't accept where you're at, you're not really going to get anywhere. So 60 has to like accept this limitation. And then gate 3 is that sacral response that's waiting to respond. So it's like gate 60 has to first accept the limitation, and it has an adrenal pulse to move beyond the limitation, but first it has to accept the limitation. And gate 3 has to wait for that to happen to then receive that pulse, because it's only an individual stream is coming through that pulse, to receive the pulse and then have that sacral response to then be able to innovate something new.
If I could analogize it to a lightning bolt, gate 3 is all the potential in the cloud. So the cloud knows I'm about to drop a bolt somewhere. As soon as there's a comforting piece of grounding that invites me and pulls me in. And 60 is like, I've transcended the limitation. I'm ready for you. And then 3 is like, it drops its lightning bolt. And it is like that. It's at that speed. It's just that kind of drastic thing. And by the way, it's part of the cross of law, and it guarantees the mutation of the cross of laws. So, I mean, it guarantees, gate 3 guarantees that we are going to change the law, at times even corrupt the law, destroy the law. And certain laws will always be destroyed with this, because this brings something brand new. And that's one of the reasons it has to couple with gate 50. It's the only sensible opposition for it, because gate 50 will then either incorporate that or reject it. It's a tribal thing. Individual can have all the pulse it wants. If the tribe says there's something to be had there.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's interesting. Also, can we elaborate a little bit on this difficulty at the beginning? Like, what does that mean for our viewers?
I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. The I don't want to be here is in, like, if you can taste it, it's like this thing's I'm at the beach. We're supposed to be having fun. Okay, pick that. We're supposed to be having fun. It's no fun. We're supposed to be having fun. Dude, we're at the beach. Everyone paid to be here. There's 20 of us are here, man. It's a high school reunion. We're supposed to be having fun, and somehow it's not there, and it's being stuck. Gate 3 comes along, and like a lightning bolt, we're playing volleyball. And now the whole day is just cranking with good generated energy that then, that mushrooms out into everything else.
So it's like that weirdness before things get going.
The weird difficulty at the beginning, the weirdness before things get going. Yes. And with no guarantee that things get going. Might not be the right timing for that pulse. The lightning bolt may not strike. Yeah. Yeah, that is interesting, because it describes so much of our lives that we don't quite have words for until it starts happening. This is the great waiting for your uniqueness to happen. All the uniqueness in the world is ordained through this channel and through this gate. In fact, when we die, the consciousness crystal that goes back into the earth leaves through gate 60 and 3. It goes right down that channel, exits the life force, and then back into the bundle it goes. Sorry if that was a little esoteric, but there's movement. It shouldn't be that big of a surprise. One day we'll measure it and we'll be like, oh yeah, there it is. I can measure it. It's moving. See that?
Here we have gate 50, which is the cauldron and the gate of values. And this is the value of historical continuity whose traditional values serve and enrich the present and future. Gate 50 is a splenic gate, part of tribal circuitry. So tribal, the keynote is support, and it's part of the defense circuit specifically. Gate 50 lines up with gate 27, which is caring, and the 2750 make up the channel of preservation. Gate 50 is also called the guardian, and it's the tribal lawmaker that establishes right or wrong. And the spleen's fear-driven mandate to maintain its own viability by protecting and guiding its young. Gate 50 has a cognizance of which values, laws, or rules safeguard, and it's about how the tribe cares for its own. This is instinctual awareness, scrutinizing which are corrupt or unjust, unnecessary or self-serving, or need to be challenged and changed.
Absolutely. And this sets the pulse inside of the spleen for how fear is supposed to work. It does, because gate 50, the fear is too much responsibility. There's too much responsibility here. But the thing is, it accepts it as an astuteness. And when you're awake to your form, suddenly you realize gate 50 simply just says, "Oh no, I'm astute to this. I'm aware. I'm looking around, and for what am I going to hear? What will I see, smell, taste? What's the thing?" And that's how fear is supposed to work. We're supposed to see fear as the thing that just makes us look. And if we could pick a different word for how the chemistry riddles through our body, we would. It's just that fear best describes it. And so that's how all the rest of the spleen is supposed to work, so that we don't live in the fear of it. If you have a gate 50, you concern yourself with taking on too much responsibility. Well, guess what? That's an astute, practical thing to have. That guarantees you get real smart. And the intelligence that comes through gate 50 is the intelligence on how to preserve the tribe. Because gate 27 on the other side is the sacral wave of sustained energy that pulses out in a manner that makes the children and preserves them. And it is the testicles and the ovaries, so it is the actual maker of it. And its keynote of caring is, the caring is to want. It's again, it just wants. It's a want to care. 50 is a how and what to care. And it's not that 27 doesn't know what it wants to care for and how it would like to care for it inside of a being. It's just that gate 50 guarantees it's in the world steadily, and it's in us. And so you put this together in this channel of preservation. Think of this word, preservation, specially speaking, as a species, preserve the species. Suddenly that's a pretty big word, the preservation of the species. You don't hear that in a sentence very often, right? But you hear it here because that's what this thing is doing on a consistent basis. Gate 50, as an old man, it's the one that and everyone's like, okay, never mind, we're not doing that. Gate 50 is this cauldron that has this deep reservoir of experience. I know spleen only speaks once, right? But it doesn't mean that what it spoke wasn't preserved inside the chemistry of the being. It comes back, and its knowledge and awareness its awareness center. It's constantly pinging the body with its awareness. Thank God for our minds that hold track of memory over all of time. That's one of the things it's always measuring. Geez, I keep getting this hit this way. I suppose that's one of the values we have to have. And in an awake being, who recognizes their nine-centered form, this can only lead to healthy communities. Just all the way around. It doesn't mean no conflict. I'm just saying healthy and vibrant and self-correcting. This is a great preserving gate of self-correcting, and it is about giving the law. Gate 50 is the one awareness that goes into making the law. Other than that, it's all generated stimulating business. What does 56 have to do with making the law? But it has plenty, because 50 is there to, again, wrangle it all. This gate wrangles the entire cross into something that now makes sense for the tribe. Otherwise, it's just generated craziness. What are we going to do next? And suddenly, we don't know what we're going to do next, because we're just two dumb generators. We're trying to initiate, and it's not going to work. Gate 50 helps solve all of that, even in a generator. What do you have to say just about the channel of preservation itself? Because it's a part of the lawgiver, even though it's not part of the cross. Just to preserve things. It feels deep.
Yeah, so what I think of the 59-6 is like you make the babies, and the 50-27 is you take care of them. And the 27 is that generative, ongoing energy to care and nourish, while the 50 is what are we preserving? What are we nourishing? And the 50 is that's what we're preserving. We're nourishing the next generation for the sake of preserving these values, these important things, these laws, this tribal right and wrong.
And gate 50 also says, it won't tell you, because I'm going to pretend it's political now, and it's not going to tell you, but it's deeply malleable. its fourth line is called corruption, meaning sometimes we have to corrupt the law. The law's no good. It needs to be changed. That corruption just means to get it gone and change it into something else. And so it is deeply malleable because it's intelligent. It's only moment to moment. And so next moment, its intelligence could easily say, oh no, now it's totally different. But it's still intelligent because clearly it had to be totally different. So Gate 50 does all of these things.
Gate 50, line 1 is the immigrant. Humbleness of origin that benefits rather than restricts destiny. The awareness that the growth and refinement of values will benefit destiny.
And that destiny that's referring to is the future of the tribe, of the community, of the unit, core God country, right? So that's what 50 says. 50 gave us that saying. I know I said on the last one, actually many of these gates do, but 50 gives us, unit first, and then core God, and then country. When you hear that phrase. Are you familiar with that phrase?
It sounds like a military marine
Yeah,
thing.
it is. It is. When you're in a unit and you're with your brothers, the most important thing on the face of the earth are your brothers, unit. Yeah. And then you made allegiance to the core. So the core, and then God, period. God should come first technically, but if you're in battle, it's unit, core, God, country, and then country last technically, because that's a great way to have things. And the tribe and the first unit is the family. And the family are part of the core. They're the cores of the community and the little pentas running around inside the community. And the community has to have their God. Ra would say it all the time. Gate 50 is the great giver of the gods in plenty of ways, because its values say what Ra would always tell us is like, the collective is not allowed to go into the tribes and take their God away. We worship this way, we pray this way, we have this way, we are this way. It's not your way, it's this way. And it has to be allowed. The customs of each tribe have to be allowed. You just have to give it. So
yeah, it's built into the wiring.
It's built into the wiring, and 27 generates the energy to then be valued by gate 50. That's aware moment to moment to moment to preserve all of that. And it's really at its essence, it's just such perfection. I love this channel. When I see this channel, I feel a lot safer around people, just to tell you the truth. Unless they're too hungry, then they might eat me to preserve their own tribe. But I'll watch out for that myself.
Funny.
You never know.
Yeah, there's definitely a sense of like competency with the 5027 of just like, oh, we're okay. Like they know what the tribe needs and like how to survive, and then they have the energy to back it up with the 27. So here we have our incarnation crosses for the week. First up, we have the right angle cross of laws, which adds the 60, 56 to the 3 and the 50 we've been talking about. And these are people who approach the ways we create, shape, and change our laws and values like an art. Our laws determine how we deal with each other and bring order to society. Then we'll move into the juxtaposition cross of mutation, which adds the 41-31. And these are people looking for opportunities to change unjust laws in order to establish their own place of influence in the mutative process. And then finally, we have the left angle cross of wishes. These are altruistic, seductive, and influential people always looking for possibilities which make life better for others, seeing and reordering things in a new way.
Yeah, this is a nice movement because, again, it just came off of the 42, which was expansion and maximization of resources towards an end and a maturing of a process. And 42 is almost like making a baby in a way. And then when you come to the laws, what to do with the baby? People who approach the ways that create, shape, and change our laws and our values. This is a steady, even-handed, steady, Freddy process. Making of the laws, it can be drastic at moments. It can absolutely happen like the lightning bolt we described. It's worth pointing out that this is one of, I have never counted, but I think there's less than 10 crosses, I would guess, when you count them all up, that have a definition in them, maybe 10 or 12 at most. And this one has a definition. Gate 60 and gate 3 make the channel of mutation. So The law is mutative business. We're always on the lookout for what's going to change and what's going to stay the same. And gate 50 creates this cauldron of values to make sure it's happening. And gate 56 up top is there to be part of the manifestation of that. How is it going to be spoken? Apparently, the law is not meant to be spoken in the humdrum, dry way we see in the house, the floor of the house. Dry. It's supposed to be stimulating, but you
Uh-huh.
get the stimulation of the law when it's at the tribal level, and you lose track of that a little bit at the collective level. Please go to the UN or go to the European Union's council and volunteer to sit there all day and watch you'll just have cotton mouth the whole day. Everything is dry there,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So I'm not volunteering for that. And then anyway, so we move. So the law says it's going to be mutative. The juxtaposition cross says we will mutate things. People looking for opportunities to change. It's not just unjust laws, it's just change ways. Mutation is for mutation's sake at the same time. And that's why it needs to be bridled by gate 50, because mutation for mutation's sake, that's not necessarily the best idea. That gave us Pet Cemetery, you know, right? Oops, oopsie daisy.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like you need something new and innovative to bring new life and new energy. Otherwise, it's like sitting water. It's just going to stagnate. And at the same time, that needs to be balanced, because if you just have fringe on fringe on fringe on fringe,
Yeah,
it's going
yeah,
to get really weird really fast. Like everyone wants to be like a little bit of a weirdo until you go to some place that's a little like it goes too far on the weird place. And you're like, oh,
right,
I've
right.
gone too far. I got
The
to pull back
values,
a little bit.
the
Yep.
values decay, they fall apart, and it becomes obvious. That's the thing. We don't need to list all the values. And mutation tells us that. It says, nope, next one. Nope, next one. You don't even need to list the last one. I'm already done with that. That one's no good. We're moving to the next one. And the only issue with this, for the few people that have this juxtaposition cross, is the insatiability of it all. Look what we just picked up, 41. There's an insatiability in 41 to hunger for the experience to try something new. And this sort of cock notice we keep with a throat gate. It's almost as if we cross just like the format energies cross when they get to the sacral and they move inside the sacral. And this does the same thing. 656 just crosses right down to 31. That's a direct diagonal cross, just like it does in the ajna and in the sacral between the format gates. And so 31 is just another throat gate that feels it can be influential. So this manifests this influence. This person has a guaranteed leg up as they come into this thing, unless the timing isn't right. So this is deeply dependent upon the timing to share. 41 is there. Sorry, 41's there. 41 wants to share that. It wants to share the new experience somehow or other, and it wants to feel a sense of hunger for the thing. Give me some spice that I want this. Don't just let me want it. That's the want I have for a clean set of linens. Give me the spice that gives me something wanted.
Fantasy, the imagination, something that
Yes.
sparks.
Yes, and then we move into wishes, and wishes takes both of these things, the laws and the mutation, says it literally wants to wish itself into that it's as good as it can be. I wish we had it this way. I wish we had it that way. I'm in Africa. I wish we had some of the late 80s and early 90s laws of the UN that said, nope, we will value the life around the world, um, when some of that human rights stuff came in internationally speaking, that is the wish would be that would then apply everywhere. Plenty of things, just it wishes for the better future, because the future is where 31's trying to lead it, and it's an unconscious drive, and it's moving into, this is still in the first and second and third line, so it's in the lower trigram, this 4131. And so it's absorbed in itself, wishing to be influential of what it hungers for. It's about to do unexpected stuff because that's the cross we move into. So we expanded in 42. We then concretized in gate 50. And then at the end of 50, from the juxtaposition on with 50, we are now mutating and possibly changing into the unexpected. So the wheel never relents. It's going to move. You don't get to have 50 all the way through the wheel and have it nice and steady like the right angle cross of laws. It's going to mutate.
Here we have our hexagrams for the week. We have the sun in gate 3, which is ordering, or in my I Ching book, it reads as sprouting, like a little
I
plant
love that.
sprouting. Yeah, right? I was like, that's cute.
Sprouting what? I don't know. We'll find out.
We'll find out. And the trigrams are water over thunder. The image reads, clouds, thunder, sprouting. A noble one weaves warp and weft. It's funny because you earlier mentioned clouds and thunder, and it's referenced right here. And it says a noble one weaves warp and weft. And so for any of our viewers listening, warp and weft refers to a woven fabric where you have a warp is one direction and the weft is the perpendicular to it, and that's just how it's woven. It says, at the beginning, clouds and thunder swirl together in a creative ferment. The creative impulse rises like thunder and flows out into the world's confusion. The word for warp threads also means a canonical text and a channel where energy flows. These are the first principles. You can weave all the colors of experience into the structure they provide, translating creative chaos into creative order.
I think they nailed it pretty well. To me, it feels like the thunder is the seed and the water is that which is its, keeps its womb ready to birth it. Like it says, like thunder, it crashes out through the ground and pops up its new life. So gate 3 is the ordering of new life. And that's sort of what they're saying here.
You can weave all the colors of experience into the structure they provide, translating creative chaos into creative order.
Yeah, the woven like the warp and the weft, like in the fabric. I didn't know what those terms were either. Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. Next up, we have the Earth in gate 50, which is values, or in my I Ching book, it reads as the vessel. So it makes sense that it's also called the cauldron. And the trigrams are fire over wind. And the image reads, above wood there is fire, the vessel. A noble one sets the situation straight and consolidates her destiny. Fire rises from wood, and clarity arises from subtle inward receptivity. This is the cooking place, the place for transmutation. And so the noble one works to bring it into harmony. She straightens out her situation, her relationships, especially, and where she stands overall. This provides a good, stable basis for transformative work, a harmonious context where destiny can be realized. Inside a well-made vessel, your sense of who you are and what you are here to do crystallizes out and becomes clearly defined.
The fire as the values, basically foundationalized on the wind. I like that. And almost all the words in that spoke to values and the keeping of a continuity. The continuity can't run through gate 32 unless it's started up by gate 50, same with all the spleen gates. And this is that whole phrase that you just read, everything you just read was speaking to the continuity and the lack of complacency when it comes to being vigilant and watching. Where is that continuity? Where is this thing holding through? Where is the fire burning out of control, essentially? Because fire and wind make a mess.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They make a forest fire.
Mm-hmm.
Or not, or the cauldron is always, it says the cauldron technically is always stirring the vat of a forest fire that in the awake being never gets out of control. In a way.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting. I love this last line. Inside a well-made vessel, your sense of who you are and what you are here to do crystallizes out and becomes clearly defined. And it's interesting understanding that concept of like the vessel or the cauldron, and it's the need for a container. It's like we need a container, like especially within a tribe, like you cannot have any individual innovation outside of a container for it to exist within.
You're right. And the container is the human communion in part. That maybe not the whole container, but that's always an aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The coming together of the peeps.
Yeah. And then what's very interesting as well is this idea of gate 3 as this, water and thunder and like planting the seed and it's sprouting. So if gate 3 is the sprouting, then gate 50 is literally like the pot, like, you can't have a plant outside of a pot. If you just have a pile of dirt, it's gonna fall over,
It's gonna
and
fall
that
over, right?
it's not
Right.
going to be able to actually sprout and become anything. You need that planter to have the soil, to have the seed, which is the thunder, and then to water the seed to then sprout. So that's really interesting, the balance of these two in that capacity. I had not considered it in that way.
Yeah. I love it. That works for me.
Absolutely. So, final thoughts for our viewers. What can they expect working with this energy this week, this
In
3
the
and this
sun,
50 energy?
3 in the 50s. So just with that driving us, just recognize that you're in a pulse. This is a time where you could easily feel antsy. When is it going to start? Where is it? Or there could be a generative energy pouring through you, generator or not, that feels frustrated about when's the thing going to start. And it puts a thing on the tip of your tongue because there's a gate 50, which is an awareness, the most powerful awareness in the spleen. It's that thing that starts it up. And and so that great cauldron of awareness is like, I'm aware there's something's going to change. This is a time to recognize something's about to change. Let it or don't. Be aware of it. You know what I mean? Watch it and recognize it may not be up to you. So this would be a time of great acceptance because there's a 60 and a 3 attached to this. It's generated, business. The 60 is not, and the 56 are not transiting right now. They already transited 3 months ago. So, but they're in the children that are coming into the world. So technically they're coming into our aura because whatever children come into the world at this time, now it starts to pour out of their aura. So they're like little mini rays of sunshine pouring on us in a way, if you want to look at it that way. So, but we're bringing the laws into the world is the thing. And it is stuckness until it makes sense. And so you could feel deeply stuck with this awareness that something new is coming. Journal that. I would love to know what you thought new was coming and then what it felt like when the energy passed. I don't know what to tell people to do because it's an impulse. Hold on. Do that.
Get ready.
Buckle up.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. I like to think of it with beginning with the earth, because that's what we can ground ourselves in. And like the earth is what's going to ground the energy to receive the sun. So what I was thinking of is grounding in that energy of the values of your tribe and your people. Like that's your container. And even kind of like reassessing, like, are you living in alignment to your values, the values of your family, of your tribe, of your penta, of your grouping? Like, what are those values and are they right? Because you need that foundational container for anything to be able to sprout and to grow.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like there's something there of grounding ourselves into those traditional values that are going to like serve and enrich the present and the future, in order to then receive that pulse of that 3, because you don't know when it's going to come. So you can get a little like, nah, 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 when is it going to happen? So first being grounded in our values. So then when that pulse comes, it can receive it. It can be that vessel, that cauldron, and then allow that 3 to sprout up and bring some kind of new innovation into your life and into the world.
It's about bringing something new in. So do be aware of that. It's not always comfortable for everyone. And if your values are behind that, stand your ground. If something new comes in, make sure you remain you and don't let someone else talk you out of it. So that's one thing for dang sure. And the other thing is, it may never come. It's only 6.5 days. The pulse is on its own time. Sometimes several of these cycles will go by over several years, and then finally a pulse hits when you're in the middle of one of these transits, of something. So you might not be in the right place to really experience it. Hard to say. It's going to connect my gate 60. I have a gate 60. I was like, oh, 3's coming up. And I'm thinking to myself, let's plan for this. And I'm like, you can't, but let's try anyways. I'm going to try anyway. Let me write something down. And my right mind drifts off into what should I write down? And then boom, I write down nothing, of course.
Yeah, of course.
But it's fun to think about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's an interesting thing, this way that like we work with human design and the energy, because so much is witnessing it. Because it gets weird if you try to tell the fortune of the future, divine the future, it gets really weird. Like you get into some weird stuff. Like I've dabbled in that, and like it never is gonna
Doesn't
go.
quite work.
No, or it gets weird, or you become compulsive, and it just becomes like a funny time. And so it's interesting with human design, where it's more about witnessing the energy and kind of like hey, what's going on? Why does it feel weird? Or how can you kind of work with what's going on, but not trying to manipulate it in a way? It's more of just like, oh,
Trying
I
to
heard this
live it.
movie was coming out. Oh, here's that one scene. Remember, there's going to be that scene where they did this crazy thing. It's
Yeah.
kind of, I feel like it's a little bit more like that, and how you can manage it. Like you said, hold on. Because,
Just yeah.
maybe there's going to be this crazy pulse, and, don't let it, take you for some crazy ride because you don't know what it is. But at least with this, you can have a sense of understanding it, and then like not freak out in a way.
Right. And don't ignore it so that it can become you, and it doesn't, and no one else can take it away from you. I mean, human design is definitely not here to tell us per se the future, but it is absolutely here to tell us about you and me, and what we are and what we're not. So what we are and what we're not is part of what the law says. And actually, the law says what we are and what we're not is what we'll give ourselves as a law. And, in my opinion, that's how this is all supposed to play out. Buckle
Funny.
up.
Final, buckle up.
Apparently, gate three's in the sky. Buckle up for something new, and don't resist it. You have the awareness this week to know if it's right or not. You'll feel it in the pit of your gut, really, because it'll go against the value that you have or not. Actually, you'll be able to measure that fine. So let it happen. It's a good container, right? It's the container for gate three.
Sounds good.
Hmm.
Well, thank you, Danny. Thank you
Thank you,
to.
Moni. Yeah, this was really good. I think we nailed a whole bunch of stuff with this one.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. So thank you to our viewers and everyone watching and liking, subscribing, all the good things. And we will see you next week. Bye.
Next time.